Tuning in today, I'm super excited that you are because I'm talking about Parkinson's disease very in depth, and I'm providing a lot of information. I mean, the information I'm providing you today is if you were taking a course at the college level, and this was a presentation for that, and you're going to have tons of material that you can go back and refer to. And I even at the end will be giving you an example of a typical protocol I use when I work with people with Parkinson's, with links to products, and there's all kinds of information. So I'm really pleased with this. I think I'd like to do more and more of this because it's a way for me to help get information out there, which you know is my passion. That's why we're here this afternoon. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And it's exciting. It's exciting because we have so much more power than we think we do. We truly do have the power to be well. And I don't care if you're a person who's already suffering from, something that's pretty serious like Parkinson's. And I know if you have advanced Parkinson's, I'm not certainly saying that here we go, we're just going to reverse it and you're going to go back to the way you were before you had Parkinson's. No, but a much better prognosis than what you're getting in the mainstream. You got levodopa, carbidopa, and it works for so long and then it doesn't work. And there is no cure. And that's kind of what you're told. And it's kind of what you just drag your head and you just think that that's it. And that's all there is. And so it's not true. And you're going to find, because I'm going to be talking about a lot of the things I talk about all the time, right? But this is the beautiful thing about certain nutraceuticals, I might call them, like glutathione, like magnesium, like iodine. Certain things are so important for are at the root of so many disease processes, right? So it means if you're using something for preventing Parkinson's or because of Parkinson's or whatever, you're doing things that are anti-Alzheimer's, that are anti-cancer, that are anti a lot of things. And so you don't have to have, oh my gosh, I've got Parkinson's and I've got diabetes. I've got to do like two whole totally different protocols. No, you might mix in a little something different if you have diabetes along with your Parkinson's. You know what I'm saying? But basically, when I looked at the Parkinson's protocol, I take everything on that protocol. I don't have Parkinson's. I take everything on that protocol except for the Curans, which is, I'll get into that, which is black currant fruit, which I could take. I mean, it's good for you, but I take so many other things that are good for me. I take a lot of things that aren't on the Parkinson's list. And I don't do the extra thiamine. That's the only thing on the Parkinson's list that I don't do. So, I would say I'm not that faithful. I don't usually use the melatonin powder, although that's really good for me, but I'm doing so many other things that are good for me. But suffice to say, these are things that I have a lot of people using for a lot of different reasons. So don't think either. It's like, Becky, well, gee, it doesn't matter if it's Parkinson's or this or that. You just give everybody the same things. Well, there's a good side to that. It's not just because, okay, these are the only things I know. It's just that these things have great overlap to a great many conditions. And maybe when you boil things down to the not so wondrous roots, maybe there aren't that many not so wondrous roots, right? As complex as the chemistry is and the physiology, maybe it's not. It is very, very complex, but maybe when you boil it down, there are some major things that are not that many, that have a lot of different complex pathways they work through, right? As they're getting up there to fuel the branches. So very excited to begin. I'm not going to do this. I love the PowerPoint look. It looks great there. It's just so professional looking, but I'm going to use the PDF because I found out last time when I did this, I've got all kinds of links in there. And if I want to click on them, I could see them, but they did not come across on the video. And I don't think they came across to you on the Zoom, but they certainly didn't come across on the video because I think it changes what screen I'm in. So I don't care. The main thing here is to get the information across. So again, I am Rebecca Becky Montrone, have a business here in Keene, New Hampshire called Wondrous Roots. I am an holistic healthcare practitioner certified by the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. I have a degree in holistic nutrition. Most of what I learned, I did not learn in school. School was helpful. It was part of my education. Certainly have learned a whole heck of a lot since then and had learned a lot before. So lifetime learning, right? And that's what we love. And I love it because I'm learning every single day. I learn new things, not one new thing, not one new thing. No, many, many new things. And that is a great joy to me. Okay, so I'm going to find my presentation and then I'll share my screen. So just bear with me for 1 second. Educational presentations, where are you? And then date modified, that should be right up here. Open that. Okay, and I don't want the table of contents. I'll start at the beginning. I think I'll shrink my screen down a little bit, just talking to myself so you know I'm here and it's not dead air. I realize this is not radio, but when it's radio and you're doing something like this, you have to, which I was doing for years, you have to sort of, you have to keep talking or people think something happened and, they're like, what happened? What happened? Then they change the channel. That's horrible. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Oh, chat. I think everybody was telling me that you couldn't hear me. Yep. You can hear me now though, right, everybody? You can hear me for sure. I'm sure. Or Dale would have come running down the hall. Okay. And then, okay, to participate, and please do. And you do not have to talk about Parkinson's either. I don't mind at all. I love getting, doing a press conference, getting a fresh question, and I'm not threatened by that. So please do feel free to ask me about anything or tell me something. Because like I say, I'm always learning. And a lot of times I learn from you. And that's the beauty of it. It's a learning zone here. Okay, so you can raise your hand, I'll call on you and you can talk, or you can type in the chat, or you can type in the Q&A. All right, so you should be able to find those, whatever device you're using, you should be able to find those and do that. And most of you are return students, so wonderful. Okay, share my screen. Okay. Whoops, it looks like okay. You should all be able to see that. If somebody can't see it, and now I've got to bring my things down here. Okay, the meetings were being recorded. My participants, put you over here. My chat, put you down here. Whoops, not the whole bar. My chat, put you over here. Put me up there. Boom, boom, boom. Just arranging my screen. You might have to do that too. All right, Parkinson's disease, an intelligent approach. Excuse me, I'm gonna clear my throat. Okay. So, I started out and I was going to be like, this is what we do for Parkinson's disease. I'm like, well, wait a minute. We got to really preface this with what is Parkinson's disease? You got to go right back to the beginning. And so some of this is going to be redundant, but sometimes also it's like we assume we know about something and we know, like I know somebody who has Parkinson's disease and I know, they shake or, they're having trouble with this, they're having trouble with that, but might not be aware of just really what is it? What goes wrong? So Parkinson's disease, or simply Parkinson's, is a long-term neurodegenerative disease of mainly the central nervous system that affects both the motor system and the non-motor systems. So sometimes that can be, yes, people can have trouble with shaking, but people can also have sleep disturbance. People can also have dementia associated with Parkinson's. People can have things like hallucinations. Okay, so those would be non-motor, sleep disturbances, hallucinations, memory or cognitive issues. And not everybody with Parkinson's really zones in on the same thing or everything. It's just different person to person. Usual symptoms are tremor, slowness of movement, rigidity, difficulty with balance, collectively known as Parkinsonism. Parkinsonism, not Parkinsonism, Parkinsonism. Parkinson's disease, dementia, falls, and neuropsychiatric problems such as sleep abnormalities, psychosis, mood swings, or behavioral changes may arise in advanced stages. So Parkinson's, what is happening in the brain? You have here, yes, Connie is saying, are you going to be able to get that? Absolutely. Normally I put those things in my newsletter ahead of time, but I really wanted to unveil this personally. So what I'm going to do is put this in the newsletter that comes like once I have the video up, which will be either probably later today. It usually is. Yeah. Then I will, in that newsletter, also include this PDF, Connie. And also, let me show you this. Take a moment to do this. I'm going to go to my website. So those of you who follow me and, we've been together and you've been with me recently in recent months. I recently started redid my website. I'm gradually getting my research files up there. The other night I stayed up late and did heart cardiovascular, which is really wonderful, talking about cholesterol. So if you were like, Becky, what is it about, people will ask me, I'm constantly sending them my PDFs and stuff. They're all here, right? The health benefits of cholesterol, right there. And these are links to my PDFs. So they are hard copies, if you will, even though they're electronic. They're not gone to this website, which might vanish over time. And then the link is broken. No. So you've got that. You've got like my article on there, confused about cholesterol, blah, 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 blah. And then down here, because I have a couple of presentations that have to do with heart health, pomegranate, which you guys know about, and my packing a healthy lunch on diet. And then you can get the PDFs there, but here you get the PDF. And so on my Parkinson's page, which I've already done, except for adding the video and the PDF, Connie, that I'm going to put up there. So like I said here, this video will be available July 14th. It'll probably be the 13th today. And then I'll have the PDF there as well. But here, look at all of these files on Parkinson's. Look at all of this. Oh, there's no science. There's no science. There's no science. There's a lot of science. And so this is great. You're like, okay, butyrate. Sodium butyrate exacerbates Parkinson's disease by aggravating neuroinflammation. Very interesting, because that takes me to one of those paradoxes where butyrate actually is shown in other studies to be missing and very important for Parkinson's. So that was interesting that here we go, this one. Sodium butyrate exerts protective effect against Parkinson's disease in mice via stimulation of glucagon, like peptide 1. So you understand that when I put stuff up there, I'm not like cherry picking, right? I look at stuff, I weigh the evidence. What is a greater preponderance of science for or against something? I'm not just trying to support my things. And you can do that now. It's like you're inside my computer in my office, looking at the stuff I saved to my research file. So I hope you will really take advantage of that. And I constantly add to them. So as I'm learning, like I have another piece on, which I put into my slideshow on sugar and Parkinson's, but I haven't had a chance yet to put it up on here, but you will be sure it will be there later. And then I just keep moving this down and keep adding more studies and more references, maybe books, whatever. So keep coming back, looking at the research files. I've got a lot of them up already. And but I have so much more. I don't know how I'm gonna have to put more things, because this drop-down menu is just gonna be where you can't see it. I'll figure it out. But it's sharing information. That is my passion. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this because it's taking up bandwidth. I want to put all my bandwidth into the Zoom. And so, yes, the answer is yes. You're going to definitely be able to have that. You're going to be able to share it with people. It's really wonderful. And that's one reason I just absolutely love technology. Okay, so what goes missing in Parkinson's disease? We have, it's a complex, chronic, and neurodegenerative, I can't say that without fast. I can say it if I slow down, right? Maybe that would be better for you too. Neurodegenerative disorder, pathologically characterized predominantly by a loss of substantia nigra pars compacta dopaminergic neurons. Okay, so that's the part of the brain. Let's go back here. That's up here. The part of the brain, the substantia nigra, right? That the substantia nigra is here. The dopamine, you can see the person with Parkinson's is not making enough dopamine because the cells in the substantia nigra that make the dopamine are dying off. That's what's happening. Okay, symptoms of Parkinson's disease. So there are a lot of things that can be associated with Parkinson's, and again, not everybody has everything usually. So you can have depression, anxiety, decline in intellectual functioning, dizziness or fainting, lungs, upper airway obstruction, abnormalities of ventilatory control, so some breathing issues. Some might not think of that as being a typical Parkinsonism type trait. Muscular weakness and aches, intestinal constipation is a common problem with people with Parkinson's. Eyes, forced closure of the eyelids, blepharospasm, difficulty speaking, excess salivation, difficulty in swallowing, a soft or a low voice, skin, increased sweating, systemic, you might have tremor and slowness, impaired balance, smaller handwriting, sleepiness, like you feel like you need to sleep through. I had one guy, and all respect to him, but he was very frustrated with his wife who had Parkinson's, had early Parkinson's because all she wanted to do was sleep all day. And I showed him in the science, this is one of the motor problem, one of the non-motor problems that is typical and not very uncommon, yes, with Parkinson's. So please give this person a break. It can be very frustrating when people have conditions that affect their behavior, such as Alzheimer's, such as Parkinson's, and it changes the way they interact with you. Many times it can be frustrating. And then you get irritated with the person. Well, please, the person's more irritated than you are. The person is more affected than you are. So that's the time for patience. How does a person find out if they actually have Parkinson's? Okay, I have some of those problems. A lot of those problems can overlap to other conditions or be caused by other things. You might be dizzy because you're dehydrated or your blood pressure is too low. You might be off balance because you've got you have the crystals in your ear or off or something. So you can't say, oh, I have those problems, I must have Parkinson's. No. So how do we differentiate certain symptoms and say, how do we find out if it really is Parkinson's? And it can be a little bit tricky because there really is no standard like test. It's not like you can just get a Parkinson's test in your lab work. But anyway, so doctors will look at certain physical signs and symptoms most often noticed by the patients, by the people themselves. I hate calling people patients. I mean, you're people and you're your doctor's patient, but I guess anyway, it's a pet peeve. Shaking or tremor, called resting tremor, a trembling of a hand or foot that happens when the patient is at rest and typically stops when he or she is active or moving. Bradykinesia, slowness, bradykinesia, slowness. Brady means slow, kinesia is movement in the limbs, face, walking, or overall body. Rigidity, stiffness of the arms, the legs, or the trunk. Posture instability, trouble with balance, and possible falls. Once the patient is at the doctor's office, the physician takes a medical history. And believe me, if you have Parkinson's or you suspect you have Parkinson's disease, you need to see a doctor. The things that I'm mentioning, I don't think are secondary to your doctor. I think they're really a big step up, but you need your doctor. And you need to have a doctor following you and giving you their recommendations and whatnot and have that. So don't ever say, I'm just going to not do that, especially if you should be followed by somebody who's medical. Okay, so the patient is going to take a medical history, does a physical examination, asks about current and past medications. Some medications may cause symptoms that mimic Parkinson's disease. That's important too. Always when you're experiencing something, maybe you're experiencing something new in your life and you're just like, okay, let me just sit down, pour myself a cup of tea, sit down and take my medication list and go to the internet and just type in those medications and type in side effects and start just doing a little study. It might not be, but you might say, oh my goodness, that's right here. And then you can talk to your doctor who's prescribing that medication and say, do you think this new problem I have is due to my lisinopril, right? Or whatever. Um, so then the performs a neurological examination. So there are different things, standard neurological test your agility, your muscle tone, your gait, your balance. That's a easy thing to do in the doctor's office. There is no lab or imaging testing. That's the thing that is recommended or definitive for Parkinson's disease. However, in 2011, the US Food and Drug Administration approved an imaging scan called the DAT scan. This technique allows doctors to see detailed pictures of the brain's dopamine system. That to me, I think would be really interesting. It reminds me of SPECT. Yes, it's SPECT. When I was doing this was a few weeks ago when I was on this part, I didn't recognize that it was spectrometry. And that is really excellent. That's what Daniel G. Amen clinics are all about. And he started out with this, and he did a really cool book called, I can't remember, the brain something. But he was saying, the brain, psychiatrists are the only people who don't look at the organ they treat. And that's because you can't see, like they're saying here, you cannot actually see what's happened to the substantia nigra on an MRI or a CAT scan, right? And those types of imaging will not show you the activity of neurotransmitters in the brain, but spectrometry, positron emission computed spectrometry scanner will do that. And I have personal experience with that, not myself, but for a client years ago who had frontal lobe damage due to hypoxia. So he had been without oxygen for a certain period of time. It damaged his brain. And I was able to send down I convinced his wife to take him down to the Daniel G. Amen clinics. And they were actually able to image all of that. And she said if the one thing it did was gave her so much more patience with him because it was just so obvious what was going on in the brain. So anyway, so the results of this DAT scan don't show you that they don't say you have Parkinson's, but they can help you, the doctor say, yeah, you've got the signs and symptoms. You're having trouble with your gait, you've got some balance issues, you've got a tremor, things like that. And then look, we can see that the dopamine, what's going on with your dopamine is impacted in your brain. It's not as active as it should be. And so that's good. So what causes, and this is really interesting because what really got me doing this right away was a new Parkinson's person that I have. And in the history of this person, he was exposed to both retinone and paraquat throughout his growing up years in the family he was in and the agricultural world and all of that in the Midwest. And then a lot of glyphosate out there in the agricultural area. And this is a really good, important point of this presentation, is that we are being poisoned. Why is there so much Parkinson's disease today? Why are more and more people coming down with, it sounds like a cold, but, contract, and you don't contract it because it's not spread, but, developing Parkinson's disease. And a big thing it keeps coming down to are pesticides. And there's actually, I think right now, there's a lawsuit out there against one of the pesticides. I don't know if it's the rotenone or the paraquat, but because of this is a big deal. So let's just so a combination, yes, this is the other thing. You can often have why are some people, right, exposed to pesticides and they don't get Parkinson's, and other people are exposed to pesticides and they do get Parkinson's? Well, you have a combination of those genetic and environmental factors. And so some people, it's like me, I have a genetic disposition to get Alzheimer's disease. So, somebody else not taking glutathione and not making sure they're getting the proper forms of the B vitamins and not using DHEA and not doing the things that I do to prevent Alzheimer's disease might not get Alzheimer's disease. But if I don't do those things, I might get Alzheimer's disease. I probably will get Alzheimer's disease. So that's because of the genetics now in the face of the environment. Okay, so it's a perfect example of what happens here with Parkinson's. a link between, new research shows a link between use of two pesticides, rotenone and paraquat, and Parkinson's disease. People who used either pesticide developed Parkinson's disease approximately 2.5 times more often than non-users. That's huge. That's hugely significant. So what happens? The mitochondrial dysfunction. I tell you, I'm the mitochondriac, yeah, and the glutathione girl. So here we have mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress. So that's why we need our top antioxidants like glutathione. Oxidative stress, we'll be getting a lot more into that. Have been impacted as pathophysiologic mechanisms underlying Parkinson's disease. Genetic forms of PD associated with certain mutations may involve these mechanisms. In experimental models, the pesticides paraquat, which causes oxidative stress. Okay, so free radicals, talk about that every single week. Free radical damage is involved in every single degenerative disease process. What fights free radicals? Glutathione, many other things too, but antioxidants, and that's your chief antioxidant. So we'll be getting into that, okay. Paraquat and oxidative stress and rotenone, which inhibits mitochondrial complex 1. Now, the mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells, right? When we're young, there are many of them within the cell, and they're tight and they're very fast and efficient, and they're just really kicking butt. And as we get older, we have fewer of them, they're farther between, and they're not kicking butt. And then if you have a disease that affects your mitochondria or an underlying condition that maybe you were born with not good mitochondrial energy function or whatever, but this is the source, this is our cellular energy, the mitochondria. And it says inhibits mitochondrial complex 1. Now, let me jump forward with that thought to when we get to methylene blue in this presentation, because methylene blue works within the mitochondrial complex. There are 4 mitochondrial complexes, 1, 2, 3, and 4, Roman numerals. And when there's a missing electron, methylene blue donates it at low dose, That's why we use low dose methylene blue. Anyway, we'll get into that. Anyway, you see what's going on here. And these are things that are involved in so many other disease processes, correct? Anyway, both induce loss of nigra dopaminergic neurons and behavioral changes associated with human Parkinson's disease. Yet, despite decades of laboratory study, neither pesticide has been definitively associated with Parkinson's disease in humans. Previous studies have reported associations with paraquat, but results are inconsistent, and in general, studies included few exposed cases. Evidence concerning rotenone is sparse. To assess relevance of experimental results in human Parkinson's disease, we investigated the association of Parkinson's disease with use of pesticides linked to complex 1 inhibition or oxidative stress, so both of those causes, in a population with well-characterized pesticide exposure. And so you can, again, go there and see that if you want to later. Whoops. I just lost my presentation. Hang on. I'll get it back, I promise. I should have just hit the back arrow. What do I want? I don't want that. I want my folder. Educational presentations. Bear with me. We're back. Okay. All right. I can see it. It looks like I'm still sharing. All right. But my next slide kind of brings out the big stuff. Our study helps connect the dots between basic research in human populations. Rotenone and paraquat have been linked experimentally to pathophysiological mechanisms implicated in human Parkinson's disease. Groups of pesticides linked to the mechanisms of mitochondrial dysfunction or oxidative stress were also associated with PD in our studies, thus extending experimental work to provide strong evidence that these mechanisms play a role in Parkinson's disease in humans. Many persons with non-occupational pesticide exposures may be unaware of the presence of pesticides in their environments. And that's really important to know too. You're like, well, I didn't grow up in agriculture. I'm not around. I don't work with pesticides. Pesticides don't stay within a confined area, do they? They get into there in the air. And a lot of them are in our foods and things. And we're going to get to that in a second. So rotenone is used, you can see, we don't want to spend too much time on that. What paraquat is, it's a weed killer. Commercial farmers may use paraquat to kill weeds or dry out certain crops like cotton before harvesting them, but control unwanted fish populations in nurseries and in organic farming. Yes, why? Because rotenone comes from like chrysanthemum. So people will be saying, yeah, I'm glad I went back to that slide. People will say, but this is all natural. This is based in nature. So it's a safe pesticide. It's not a safe pesticide. When they want to make mice in the lab have Parkinson's, so now they can try different things. Like you got to how do you give a rat Parkinson's? This is horrible. I feel so bad for these animals, but if you want to find out if levodopa works and how it works against whatever, you have to have a mouse with Parkinson's disease. So you have to make that mouse have Parkinson's disease. How do they do that? They expose them to rotenone because it kills off the cells of the substantia nigra and causes Parkinsonism. So great. So in your organic farming, wonderful. But even more commonly found in food and environment, Roundup. You might be using Roundup. You might have your neighbor using Roundup. Roundup is glyphosate, and Roundup is the most widely used herbicide in the world. As a non-selective herbicide, it kills most plants. Scientists now link glyphosate to a number of human health problems, from cancer and neurological diseases to endocrine disruption and birth defects. There was a recent, well, it wasn't recently, maybe 5 years ago, person won a cancer entitlement from glyphosate is now owned by, I want to say Bayer, but I could be wrong. But anyway, because of cancer. Glyphosate, a non-selective systemic biocide with broad spectrum activity, is the most widely used herbicide in the world. It can persist in the environment for days or months, and its extensive and large-scale use can contribute a major environmental and health problem. In this systematic review, we investigate the current state of our knowledge regarding to the effects of this pesticide on the nervous system of various animal species and humans. The information provided indicates that exposure to glyphosate or its commercial formulations induces several neurotoxic effects. With regard to glyphosate, and your Cheerios have glyphosate, you got to look at foods, go on the web and look at foods that have glyphosate added. And this is why we shop. We're not food snobs, but this is why we try to get things organic. But now we find out that they might have rotenone for all we know. But for the glyphosate purposes, all of your cereals and things like that, your Cheerios, that's why that image is there. We hear and report the case of a 38-year-old man who developed Parkinson 4 years after ingesting glyphosate. The patient presented with right-sided bradykinesia, so slowed movement, and cogwheel rigidity without autonomic symptoms. So he didn't have like the sleeping and that kind of thing. Magnetic resonance imaging of the brain and blah, 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 myocardial, a drastic response to levodopa and the presence of levodopa-induced dyskinesia without strong non-motor symptoms was seen in this patient. We considered that young onset atypical Parkinsonism was associated with a history of sublethal glyphosate ingestion. Sublethal, so it didn't kill him. It just induced this Parkinsonism. And you can, again, that's another one that you can just click on and see. There's a lot of those. I won't click on them all, or we'll never get through this. But look at that. Who is vulnerable to chronic glyphosate poisoning? 81% of the US population has had recent exposure to glyphosate, a chemical found in some weed killers, according to a new study. People can be exposed to glyphosate through diet, skin contact, breathing, and particles from the air. Fruits, fruit juices, vegetables, and cereals are possible sources of glyphosate, a widely used herbicide in the United States. Yes, we live in the land of the free and the brave, don't we? But we can't eat freely and we can't breathe freely. And we just get whatever they dole out to us. And there's not much we can do but try to protect ourselves. So this is very cool, though. Protect yourself against glyphosate poisoning. And you're going to love it when you see what one of the answers is out of the two. I bet you can guess. Anyone? Oh, I know. Glycine and glutathione. So glycine, and I just did a program on glycine not long ago. If you haven't seen it and you want to see it, go to my YouTube channel and type in glycine in the search bar, and that will come right up. And whenever you open a video of mine on Rumble or YouTube, if you go to the description, the link to the newsletter is there, right? Okay. Glycine, an amino acid needed to create glutathione, and it does that along with MSM, a powerful detoxifier and antioxidant that also protects the liver against toxicity. Interestingly, the body can mistake glyphosate for glycine during protein synthesis, tricking it into storing glyphosate in tissues and organs, right? So, okay, glycine you need, but you get glyphosate and your body thinks that it's glycine and stores it where your glycine should be. Oh my goodness, because glycine is so important to health. By supplementing with extra glycine, we can prevent glyphosate from being stored, enhance glutathione activity, and help support healthy protein production. So this is really cool. And so do your glutathione and do your glycine. I do 3,000 milligrams every night before I go to bed. 3,000 milligrams, you're getting your glycine in there. It's locking into your glycine receptors, and glyphosate has no place to latch on. Let's put it that way. So as with everything, when I work with anything, I call it the slap it silly approach. So we can't say we have one thing, like the medical mainstream model. We've got levodopa carbidopa. We've got it. Well, levodopa carbidopa does certain things, but it does only what it does. It doesn't do anything else. It just does what it does. And that's good. But you've got Parkinson's laughing at you over here. While you're hitting it one way, you've got a bunch of other vulnerabilities. And what we want to do is make sure that we're hitting every vulnerability of a disease condition at least as we understand it at the present time. That's how I basically work. So a proposed anti-Parkinsonian toolkit. I'm going to start with GH3. And if any of you are paying attention, are here, I think, who actually do have Parkinson's, you know about some of these things. Some of you I'm working with who have Parkinson's, I have not had a chance to update to some new things that I'm doing. So this is a good time for you to catch up on that and then talk with me about it. But GH3 is basically procaine hydrochloride with PABA, P-A-B-A, which is a B vitamin. It actually stimulates DMAE, and DMAE is very protective to the brain. So anyway, Anna Oslin was a doctor in Romania in the 1940s, and she wondered if I used Novocaine, if I put Novocaine into the bodies of my patients with severe arthritis, would it help? And then she found out, wow, not only did it help, but these people just blossomed in their health, whether it was psychological or like with depression or blood pressure or mental, cognitive, hair growing back in normal color, hair growing in that, it just had all of these miraculous anti-aging effects. And so we do see that the extrapyramidal rigidity in Parkinson's disease diminished. That was one of the things that was seen. Again, you can find the source there. So again, I talk about that, and then I have more information there. Methylene blue. So now let us get there. Daily consumption of methylene blue reduces attentional deficits and dopamine reduction in a 6-OHDA model of Parkinson's disease. And you can see that. But methylene blue and Parkinson's, methylene blue significantly improved attentional performance in the 5-choice task designed to measure selective and sustained attention. In conclusion, methylene blue might be useful in improving some attentional function and preserving dopaminergic cells in this model. Future work should continue to study and optimize the abilities of methylene blue for the treatment of PD, but it's more exciting than that. In the study above is that they used rotenone again to create Parkinson's in mice in order to experiment with them, right? I told you that. But when they pre-treated the mice with methylene blue, to see if that would prevent Parkinson's, it did. They could not induce Parkinson's in mice using rotenone if they were being given methylene blue. So that's for you and me who don't have Parkinson's, right? So get your methylene blue and stop that. So if you are exposed to these things, it's not going to kill the cells in your brain. Isn't this exciting? I mean, this is so phenomenally exciting because we have so much more power than we know. I don't know, but do doctors really understand that this is what's going on? They don't have time to do what I do. I do this at night when I'm not at the office. And I don't know. All I'm saying is this is exciting because these things exist. They're here. We have access to them and they are effective. Iodine. Okay, here we go. Becky, I get to be on the, stump for every single nutrient, I'm excited about. Long-term iodine deficiency appears linked to abnormalities in the dopaminergic system that include an increased number of dopamine receptors. So that's kind of, okay, it is argued that this raises susceptibility to dopamine oxidation, which in turn causes deficiencies of the antioxidant systems, superoxide dismutase, glutathione, peroxidase, and catalase. So SOD and glutathione, peroxidase, and catalase, these are our big, endogenously, we make them ourselves, antioxidants. Huge, huge, huge for every degenerative disease. And here we see this affecting Parkinsonism. So we need to make sure we are getting iodine. Everybody's iodine deficient if they are not supplementing. I've said that a million times, if not more. Dopamine deficiency also leads to elevated cytotoxic glutamate levels. So that's excitotoxicity. That's the reason we avoid MSG. That's why we avoid MSG lookalikes like autolyzed yeast and isolated soy protein. That's why we don't eat processed food, basically, because that stuff's all in there. But glutamate causes glutamate toxicity. And implication of glutamate toxicity is behind autism, okay? You break the blood-brain barrier with inflammation and the calcium channel blockers open and the calcium floods the cells and kills them. So that's glutamate toxicity, excitotoxic toxicity. Implications of the iodine dopachrome glutamate hypothesis for treatment of these three neurological disorders are then discussed. Possible interventions include the use of levodopa, vitamin B3, coenzyme Q10, various antioxidants, amino acids, iodine, and glutamate antagonists. What is a really good glutamate antagonist? Magnesium. Anyway, and there are plenty of others, but anyway, iodine and Parkinsonism. Not enough iodine in your diet negatively affects neurotransmitters in your brain and can result in depression, brain fog, anxiety, learning, and memory problems, and ultimately lead to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So all these things together. But I thought I was taking iodine, Becky, for my thyroid. Well, you are. And there's a little fly. Okay. DHEA. I've now talked about DHEA a lot. Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disorder characterized, okay, we know what that is. DHEA is a hormone produced in the brain. Several studies have reported beneficial effects of said steroid in experimental models of Parkinson's disease and various human diseases, but it's inconclusive. Therefore, it's necessary to evaluate current evidence to determine the therapeutic potential of DHEA administration for Parkinson's disease, since it could be an effective and low-cost treatment. All right, so don't wait until they definitively say it, just do it. Right? We use DHEA for a million other things. I've been using DHEA since I was in my early 30s. Okay. Effective DHEA on the recovery of the muscle atrophy induced by Parkinson's disease. Conclusions. Our results suggest that DHEA treatment recovers Parkinson's disease-induced contralateral soleus muscle atrophy through blah, blah, blah phosphorylation. So this is how it works. But for us, I just like knowing it works. I do like knowing how it works. But again, you can always click on that. Sulforaphane, Brad Hodgkins, who's often with me, has been with me on this program and on the radio previously, but sulforaphane, the broccoli sprout powder, right? Sulforaphane is very involved with glutathione as well, but it's very, very important for Parkinson's and very useful. The report of efficacy of sulforaphane in the treatment of neurodegenerative disease, including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis. Therefore, thanks to its beneficial effects, sulforaphane can be useful as a supplement to counteracting neurodegenerative diseases. And then about dopaminergic cell death itself. in Parkinson's, not just all neurodegenerative diseases, but Parkinson's. It says here, the major isothiocyanate found in cruciferous vegetables may serve as a potential candidate for development of treatment and or prevention of Parkinson's disease, protective effect of sulforaphane against the cell death. And you can just take these every day. Just do it. Just do it. Don't even have to think about it. Just do it. Glutathione in Parkinson's disease. Is this the elephant in the room? Here we go. Low glutathione metabolism is linked to the pathophysiology of Parkinson's disease. It is unclear if the deficiency is an etiological factor in Parkinson's disease or a consequence of it, right? So do you have it because you have low glutathione? I would say it's probably somewhat of both. I would say easily it's somewhat of both. If you have adequate glutathione, you're overcoming the things that because you have low glutathione, you have develop Parkinson's disease, right? But I would say also that there's research showing that it also, Parkinson's disease can put a drain on glutathione, which makes a lot of sense. So we need to replenish antioxidants as they're getting sucked up by conditions in our body. Lowered glutathione metabolism and a low glutathione ratio following, well, the glutathione versus another form of glutathione ratio. Following oxidative stress are associated with mitochondrial dysfunctions and constitute a critical factor in the neuroinflammatory and neurodegenerative processes accompanying PD. This review provides indirect evidence that glutathione redox signaling is associated with the pathophysiology of Parkinson's disease. The results show that antioxidant approaches, including neuroprotective and anti-neuroinflammatory agents, which neutralize reactive oxygen species, may have therapeutic efficacy in the treatment of Parkinson's disease and its progression. I also want to show you with each of these slides where I have a supplement, you click on it and it takes you to the supplement. It's not because I'm trying to sell supplements. That's not the purpose here. It's just how do we make this as easy and as informative and resourceful for people? Okay, and then glutathione review and its role and significance in Parkinson's disease. Again, another piece on that. Now, blackcurrant fruit provides brain health benefits. And so we have a supplement called Curans that I have my people with Parkinson's using. And it's useful for many things, but they're actually the only ones I usually think of specifically for it. And I think the only ones I'm using, people use it. It's good for your athletic performance and stuff like that. Let's go here. Blackcurrant fruit provides brain health benefits. Here we go down here. Chemicals, it inhibits activity of MAO enzymes that are often used to treat depression and other mood disorders such as stress and anxiety. GH3 also is working with the MAO system. Parkinson's occurs when neurons in the brain area of the brain controlling movement die and produce less dopamine, which contributes to the physical motor symptoms. Chemicals that can inhibit MAO enzymes prolong the effects of dopamine by preventing its breakdown, may also prevent the removal of dopamine between nerve cells, all of which help to combat symptoms of Parkinson's. Okay, so that's like they're talking about an inhibitor, so a dopamine esterase inhibitor, right? So we have a serotonin inhibitor. So he's saying basically you're getting, you might have prolong the effects of dopamine, by breaking down, may also prevent the removal of, its breakdown, and then also keeping it active longer in the synapses between the cells. Okay, that's how antidepressants work, like the SSRIs. They don't give you more serotonin, but this doesn't give you more dopamine, but it keeps it active longer, although I think that this one does actually give you more dopamine, but just never mind that comparison. But you get it. You kind of get it. If you don't, just trust me. Okay. In collaborative and unit, assess the effects of blackcurrants on cognitive health and found that the fruit improved attention and regulated mood. And then we have this one is where I first originally got my my information from a few years ago and started using this supplement with for Parkinson's, and that is Supplementation of black currant anthocyanins increase cyclic glycine proline. Glycine. Very interesting. In the cerebral spinal fluid of Parkinson's patients, potential treatment to improve insulin-like growth factor 1 function. And so this is very important. And basically, what this is saying is that the black currant, the constituents in the black currant get into the cerebral spinal fluid very easily, and they cross the blood-brain barrier, and they deal with insulin-like growth factor 1, which is implicated in the loss of these, the killing off of these brain cells and causing less kill off of the brain cells in the substantia nigra that make dopamine. So New Zealand black currants have one of the highest recorded anthocyanin values of any fruit on the planet. We're talking antioxidant, antioxidant, antioxidant. And again, just that oxidative stress that comes with Parkinson's and these other neurodegenerative illnesses. Each capsule, okay, contains the equivalent, each capsule contains the equivalent of a generous handful of black currants. And so that's not black currant seed oil. That's another part of the plant, but it's not the fruit. And it's the fruit we use for Parkinson's. Magnesium, magnesium. Magnesium is essential for cell functions such as transport of calcium and potassium ions, and modulates signal transduction, energy metabolism, and cell proliferation. Several studies elucidated a reduced concentration of magnesium in patients with Parkinson's disease. Treatment of magnesium L-threonate elevates the magnesium level in the cerebral spinal fluid and attenuates motor deficits and dopamine neuron loss in a model mouse of Parkinson's disease, slowing down that dopamine neuron death. MagMind, okay, again, getting the magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier easily, and we know it's getting to your brain. And you can see here magnesium in the central nervous system, magnesium in the brain, focus on neuroinflammation and neurodegeneration, magnesium in Parkinson's disease, an update in clinical and basic aspects. Yeah. And then the neuroprotective potential of magnesium in Parkinson's disease. So again, easy to do. You should be doing magnesium, supplementing magnesium every day anyway. Yeah, magnesium is involved in the regulation of metabolism and maintenance of the homeostasis of all the tissues, including the brain, where blah, 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 blah. Okay. Coconut oil and Parkinson's disease. This is brand new to me, not the coconut oil. The coconut oil, I think of MCT oil, right? And I get that. And I don't have my Parkinson's people up until now using that. And that maybe had been a miss. But I learned about PEA. Remember a few weeks ago, I talked about palmitoyl ethanolamide, and I couldn't pronounce it while I've practiced it, and I can just rolls off my tongue. Palmitoyl ethanolamide. I love it. Had really good results with somebody with severe 18-year pain in his lower back, incapacitating, changed his life. Medications didn't work, and he couldn't tolerate many of them. I wrote a blog. It's on both my websites. I wrote a blog sometime this week. If you go to my blog, either on the website with Shop Wondrous Roots or my regular one to the blog, you'll see it. And he said he could not believe, and I had no idea what to expect for severe pain like that. And so I said, but it's worth a try. And he said to me, he came in a couple of weeks later, and he said, after 30 minutes, after his first pill, that horrible pain in his back was gone, and it has not returned. He's continuing to take it. He couldn't believe it. He said, I'm tearing up. I have tears in my eyes. It's been 18 years. I had failed back surgery. He said, I still have, like my muscle soreness and stuff like that. He said, but I don't have, thank you, Dr. May, but I don't have that fried nerve. That's gone. And that was what was killing him and really ruining his life. Okay, so what I want to do is take a vote. I don't know, just if people can type into the chat. Oh, thank you, Dr. May, saying awesome presentation as always. We are at 1 o'clock. I could continue the presentation now, which would be my preference, or I could wait and no, let's just do it. Because if you have to drop out, but you can catch up the rest later. And I want to talk about something else next week. I've got another whole topic up that's exciting to me. So anyway, thank you. If you have to drop off, I'm sorry, but I am just going to finish, and I'll try not to be too wandering in my my ways. But palmitoyl ethanolamide, okay? Then I found out ultramicronized palmitoyl ethanol. Yeah, so this is like, and he was in again a week later, and he's saying the same thing. I mean, this has worked for him. I am just praising God. This is a miracle breakthrough. This is changing a person's life, one person's life. I don't care if it's one person's life. The supplement is palmitoyl ethanolamide. Okay, Connie. Okay, great. Thanks for staying in this long. She's got company coming, but she's going to come back and watch it later. Palmitoyl ethanolamide. I'm just going to go briefly to, and if you go down to here, you can pick up my blogs. This one I just did on the 6th, so that was last weekend. And if you go there, you come down here. Here's the product, that product that I used with him. Now, because I found out this for Parkinson's, I'm using a different one, ultramicronized for Parkinson's, because the ultramicronized is what they've studied that actually gets into the brain so well. So I don't know if the other one does as well either, but I'm like, if that's what the study was done on, that's what I want to do. But that's it. And I will show you here, you can see the PEA Pro, it takes you to that product right there. When you have access to this PDF, which you will have later this afternoon or this evening. Okay. So anyway, ultramicronized palmitoyl ethanolamide, an efficacious adjuvant therapy for Parkinson's disease. I did not hear about this until a few weeks ago. I would say less than 8 weeks ago was when I first stumbled on PEA, and I tell in my blog thing there how I did. If you're interested in that, but I don't want to waste everybody's time because we're running late. Anyway, conclusion: ultramicronized PEA. Okay. Slowed down disease progression and disability in Parkinson's disease patients, suggesting that ultramicronized PEA may be an efficacious adjuvant therapy for Parkinson's disease. They tested it along with levodopa, and they saw that things significantly went up compared to the patient just on levodopa. But does that mean that you need to use levodopa to use PEA? Absolutely not. No. Use PEA and avoid needing levodopa. So exciting. All right. And then MCT oil. We know that that's very good for providing ketone energy to the brain. And that's super important. And we're going to see later when I get down to diet that Parkinson's patients tend to have a craving for sweets and sugar. This new person that I have, I mean, he is voracious for sweets, and it's the worst thing for his brain, but he can't seem to stop himself. And there's a reason for that, I found out. But anyway, MCT oil provides energy to the brain that is not glucose, is that hyperglucose ingestion is making you insulin resistant in the brain. It's not helping, it's damaging, and it's increasing the Parkinson's, it increases Alzheimer's. So you can always use medium chain triglycerides like that. The vitamin Bs, very, very important. 2, vitamin B deficiency, so low levels of pantothenic acid. Again, you can click on that and you can read that science. Low vitamin B12, potential link to reduced cholinergic transmission and severity of disease in Parkinson's. Wow, these are things that are just so available to us. Vitamin B1, now this is something this couple that came in and he has the Parkinson's, told me that they read this book about like using vitamin B1 as a cure for Parkinson's. I had never associated thiamine with Parkinson's until I met with them. So see, this is like how I learn. The treatment with thiamine led to a significant improvement in Parkinson's disease symptoms. So again, if you're following me and you're listening to me and I'm already working with you on Parkinson's, that this is something you've not heard from me until now. Significantly improved. The clinical motor improvement was even higher during the 2nd month of treatment. Some patients with a milder phenotype, like a less of a genetic bent, had a complete clinical recovery. And so I found I'm using lipothiamine, which is enterically coated. I went through this book. There's a book about it. And I put the link to that late. It's a little bit later. And talking about the different forms, and this is the one I settled on, just suffice to say for now. I'm not going to go into all of that. They said he didn't use that one or recommend this one because although this Dr. Larson in Europe has a lot of success with this one, he couldn't find like science to like bear that out. So he recommended just thiamine hydrochloride and sublingual. But I'm like, if a doctor is using this and it's working and this is a form and it's enteric coated and that's the main thing, I'm happy with that. It satisfies me. And I think it would be better in the long run, and you would need to take a lot less. So anyway, there's reasons I did that. Okay, short chain fatty acids, sodium butyrate. I did a whole program on that not long ago, and you can find that on both of my channels too, Rumble or YouTube. I think I've got that. I might have worked. No, I don't think I've put that up on my website yet, but I will. Neuroprotective effects of sodium butyrate by restoring gut microbiota and inhibiting blah, blah, blah signaling in mice with such and so. They gave them induced Parkinson's disease. So neuroprotective effects. Bacterial butyrate in Parkinson's disease is linked to epigenetic changes and depressive symptoms. So that is the actual deficiency of decreased levels of bacterially produced butyrate are related to epigenetic changes in leukocytes and neurons from Parkinson's disease patients and to the severity of their depressive symptoms. PD shares common butyrate-dependent epigenetic changes with certain GI and psychiatric disorders, which could be relevant for their epidemiological relation. And here's another study. Sodium butyrate exerts protective effect against Parkinson's disease. And I think I talked about that a little earlier. Parkinson's disease potential actions of lithium. I just did a program 2 weeks ago on lithium, orotate, low-dose lithium. Again, Parkinson's disease, right? Low-dose lithium reduces side effects for most common treatment for Parkinson's disease. So also helping with the side effects of levodopa. Lithium is a nutrient. Potential application of lithium in Parkinson's and other neurodegenerative diseases. You see a whole paper there. And now we come to melatonin. Melatonin is the pineal gland. You got your substantia nigra right over here. Melatonin in Parkinson's disease, mechanism of the beneficial effect of melatonin in experimental Parkinson's disease. Melatonin protects against neurobehavioral and mitochondrial deficits in a chronic mouse model of Parkinson's disease. Increased melatonin may play dual roles in the striata of 6-hydroxydopamine model of Parkinson's disease. So, wow, isn't this wonderful? Think about this. Think about all of these things that are working together. And so the pow, 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 pow. I mean, you're just getting, okay, I'm not just doing glutathione. I'm not just doing butyrate. I'm not just doing the B vitamins. I'm going to do them all. Right? And it's pow, 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 slap it silly. That's the slap it silly approach. Now, here we come. Diet. Now, like I mentioned, diet. People ask me, what do you want me to do for a diet for my cancer? What do you want me to do for a diet for my this or that? I want you to eat whole, unprocessed food. I want you to eat a variety of it. I want you to avoid excess. I want you to avoid excess carbs and sugar, definitely. Right? But that's just a healthy diet. That's how I eat. That's just how I eat. That's how people should eat. I'm sorry. And you should make your own food. So yeah, is it easy? Is that not as common in today's world? Well, that's just your fault. That's your decision. It's not a person's fault in a nursing home, obviously, but I'm talking about if you're, at home. Parkinson's disease and sugar intake, reasons for and consequences of a still unclear craving. So not only does Parkinson's disease be impacted and become worse by eating sugar, but there's a craving for it. And it says, lately, studies have shown that patients with Parkinson's disease report a strong craving for sweets and consume significantly more fast-acting carbohydrates than healthy controls. So maybe if you have Parkinson's, you're like, oh, I just thought I was so undisciplined and just such a bad, I just want sweets and cookies and cake and donuts and bagels all the time. Consuming food with high sugar content is assumed to lead to an increase in insulin concentration, which could positively influence dopamine concentration in the brain and unconsciously be used by patients as a kind of self-medication to compensate for a lack of dopamine in Parkinson's disease. On the other hand, high sugar intake could also lead to insulin resistance and diabetes, which is discussed as a causative factor for progressive neurodegeneration in Parkinson's disease. So this is a vicious circle. It's a catch-22. In this critical appraisal, we discussed the role of sugar intake and the insulin on dopamine metabolism in patients with Parkinson's disease, and how this could influence the potential neurodegeneration mediated by insulin resistance. It is very important. And I think also with this insulin thing going on, if you're using things such as the MCT oil, right, which means that the cells that are looking for glucose and there's an insulin problem, they will readily take that ketone energy. So a good case for that. And also when we think about the palmitoyl ethanolamide and that being that fatty acid in the brain. So a suggested Parkinson's protocol, what I've done here is I have put here basically what if you came to see me for Parkinson's, and this is what I would basically recommend. And while I do say, whoops, that's weird how that link came up. All right, I'm going to change that link on the PDF before I release it. That's kind of weird. It shouldn't come up like that, but want to get it bigger. Okay. All right, we can all see that. So this is an example. Now I say it's important to know this is an example of a typical protocol I use with clients with Parkinson's disease. Of course, I'm always working with these clients individually, and I'm very well aware of their medications, other health issues. So everything I recommend is centered within that framework for that person. So just so you know that. But I want everybody to know, it's important to know that methylene blue cannot be used by someone taking a prescription antidepressant. When I work with someone who wants to use methylene blue, they can opt to wean off the medication and then use methylene blue. If you are reading this and are not my client, be aware of that, because I would make my client aware of that, right? There's also methylene blue is contraindicated in people with a G6PD enzyme deficiency. A lot of us don't know if we have or don't have. G6PD enzyme deficiency is more common among people, primarily 25% of primarily male patients from Africa, Asia, and the Mediterranean. And that doesn't mean that other people might not have a G6PD enzyme deficiency, but I use methylene blue with a lot of people. Hydroxychloroquine you can't use with G6PD enzyme deficiency, and doctors prescribe that all the time. What else? G6 intravenous vitamin C we wouldn't be able to use with a G6PD enzyme deficiency, so not that common. But if you're concerned about it, ask your doctor to do a simple test and find out if you have one. Other than that, there are no contraindications of any of the other things in the list with medications or detrimental to any other health condition in this list. So you don't have to say, oh, what if I'm on a blood thinner? What if I'm on a this? No, you're fine. Okay. Of note, I have many of my clients on most of these nutrients for a number of reasons and blah, blah, blah. And then I talked about the thiamine, which I just explained to you. The book, if you're interested in that book on B1, that's the link for that here. And yeah, I have it on my Kindle, and I was reading it last night to get the gist of it as I was finishing up my prep for this. Here, you can see the wee hours of the morning. This is how you take things. So you just need to open this up. You need to read this. The products are linked here. These are all that way. This makes it so easy for you. I mean, this is a real giveaway, because this is like, wow, you could get started, and you could do that without having to meet with me, without having, or send this off to somebody else, right, who might be able to use it. So you can see in here, I've got the MSM powder, the methylene blue, the iodoral, the sodium butyrate, the DHEA, Magmind, glutathione. Thorne Basic Nutrients is covering most all of your really good B complex, your folate, some B12 in there too in active form. The Bs are super important. Then we're adding pantothenic acid as a separate B vitamin, separate B12 to make sure you're getting it in lozenge form. And now the lipothiamine, the B1 there. Then we do another, these are repeated in the evening. We add the lithium orotate. We come in and bring in the rear with the melatonin powder, and bang, bang, bang. There you go. Kind of, yeah. I mean, this is kind of it in a nutshell. This does at least tell you what I know about Parkinson's disease and what I know and do to help people with this illness. And prevent always, right? Always. Prevention is what we need to be doing. You know, and I say here, I hope this presentation has been helpful. Whether you have Parkinson's disease, know somebody who does, who might be interested in this information, or simply want to learn more about powerful natural means of preventing disease and enjoying a long life of good health. Be well. You have more power than you know. Wouldn't you just agree with that as you come to the end of this, this presentation? Because, wow, that's not the hope you've been given when you go to your doctor's office. And again, I'm not criticizing your doctor, not really. I'm criticizing the system. I'm criticizing the medical system. That there's so much hope for people with Parkinson's, and there's so much hope for people who want to prevent Parkinson's in the first place. And we're just told by the AMA, there is no cure, and we have, you know, a medication. We've got to, you know, sometimes we can stop the tremor by implanting some sort of a device in the brain. That's very sad. And that's very sad when you go, you know, dragging yourself into the doctor's office and you come out with that. I mean, who can be happy with that type of message? So thank you, Susan. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. We're like 20 minutes after, and I was a couple minutes late. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to, again, send out a newsletter later today, another email announcement letting you know that the video's up. I'll be putting it on my website. Feel free to share any information I have with anyone as well that you think might be able to benefit from it. Stop my share before I say goodbye. Great. Have a wonderful day. It is hot and muggy here in our part of the country, and it probably is wherever you are in this part of the country at this point in time. But I will let you go. Thank you.